and a very warm welcome. You're watching The Right to Be Heard Town Hall Season 2 Election Special, and a very special guest joining us at the India Islamic Center today, Union Finance Minister P. Chidambaram. And to ask questions, we've got students from some of the top colleges, economists, academicians, all raring to ask their questions to the Finance Minister. Let's give an opportunity to this gentleman here to begin with. Welcome, Minister. Can we have a round of applause for the Minister, please? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Minister. This is Akash Jindal, economist. My question is over budget. The entire country is passing through a phase of slowdown or recession. Now, my question is with due regards and a lot of respect to you. People say Narendra Modi is going to be the future Prime Minister. Now, is it that your government is trying to front-run Narendra Modi to give sops to automobile industry, which he could have given in case he becomes the Prime Minister? And you say that India has stayed away from the international recession in spite of economies going down. Now, my understanding says that we are a domestic demand-driven economy. And, sir, you know very well, in the past 1 year, US has also recovered.
Just ask your question.
Just give me 10 seconds. They have withdrawn the package. Europe has recovered. India is still in recession. If that logic has to be accepted, we are still in recession. And lastly, sir, I want to know 3 major achievements of your government as finance ministry and 3 major things which you think are unfinished agenda. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I can start by saying there are 3 questions there. Let me answer your first question. You have a very fertile imagination to link the concessions given on the excise side with the result of an election. Look at the preamble to that part of the speech. I said manufacturing is witnessing an unprecedented slowdown. And I said in another place, no country can become prosperous without a manufacturing base. It's therefore imperative to give a boost to manufacturing. So we've given a boost to not only automobiles, we have given a boost to all the goods falling under Chapter 84 and Chapter 85, which means all consumer non-durables and all capital goods. The boost to manufacturing has been given to automobiles, consumer non-durables, and capital goods. These are the sectors that are most affected. So that's the justification for what we did. Now, as far as the second part of your question is, it's a statement. It's not entirely correct, I'm afraid. We are not in a recession. A recession is defined as negative growth in 2 successive quarters. We have not had negative growth at all. We are in a slow growth phase. That is not the same as negative growth. So we are not in a recession. Therefore, I think the basis of that statement is not quite right. Now, as far as 3 things that we have done, 3 things we have not done, we'll answer them as we go along. But I think we should give other questions.
Okay, let's take some more questions. We have plenty of time to pose some other questions. Go on.
Good evening, sir. So my question is that you said that you're attracting investors and stuff. My question is that you and the UPA said that Modi's knowledge of economics is really limited. But as far as I see, and I think most of the people will agree with me, that Gujarat is a model state of development. Plus, all the investors are going towards Gujarat. They're actually not, what I see is all the investments are flowing into Gujarat, not into whole of India, to be on the best path. So,
okay, let him answer that.
Okay. Now, I don't know what data you have to make that statement. The data is to the contrary. The data shows that the states that are attracting the highest level of investment are in the top. Maharashtra, Haryana, the National Capital Territory, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. These are attracting the highest amount of investment, and Odisha. Gujarat is somewhere in the middle. It's not the top rate, a top state, even if you go by the quantum of investment. I don't grudge. I'm very happy that investment is going to one state or other. All states are equal to me. As long as investment comes to India, it has to go to one state or other. I'm very happy it's going to Gujarat. But the data that you've got, I think you should check your data. The top state is not Gujarat. But I'm happy that Gujarat is attracting a sizable amount of investment.
Okay, the gentleman in the middle.
Honorable Minister, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has spoke strongly against the Tamil Nadu government's decision to free the Rajiv Gandhi
Rajiv Gandhi
assassins. And your statement has been carefully worded in favor of the government's, Tamil Nadu government's decision. So how would you react to Mr. Rahul Gandhi's statement? And is it because you don't want to face backlash against Tamil people's sentiments that you've spoken, or do you strongly believe in the statement?
I have not made any statement favoring the Tamil Nadu government. I was simply pointing out that there was an earlier judgment where I think 14 or so people on death row had been freed. This judgment reiterated that principle, but I said the judgment is wrong. If you listen to my interview carefully, I said the basis of the judgment is wrong. The government has filed a petition in the Supreme Court raising these issues and asking for a review. So I think the government's position is correct. Shri Rahul Gandhi's reaction is absolutely correct. What he's pointing out is that on the ground of delay, you have made this order. And even before the ink is dry on that order, the Tamil Nadu government is acting. So I think Mr. Rahul Gandhi's reaction is absolutely correct.
Okay, let's take a question from that young lady there.
Good evening, sir. My name is Richa, and my question is, a Japanese PR company has been hired to do the PR of Rahul Gandhi, and hundreds and crores of rupees have been spent on it. Why not spend that amount on the lower strata of the people in the villages or in the local places, so that people say good things about Rahul Gandhi? Why that PR is required and why that money is being spent for doing that PR?
Frankly, I don't know. I don't know the facts, so I can't really react to that. But I'm pretty sure that the Congress party does not have hundreds of crores to spend.
The reports were 500 crores. Those were the reports. Let's take some questions from the back.
Well, again, he's again going by impressions. He says 500, 5 other people will now pick it up and said 500. Somebody says 1,000, 4 other people will pick it up and say 1,000. You must have data. Please remember what Mr. Narayana Murthy said one. In God we trust. For everything else, show me data.
Okay, go on.
Hello, sir. Sir, is this interim budget is a kind of token for the citizens of India so as to make a better image of Indian National Congress in the front of citizens of India?
No, an interim budget is a constitutional requirement after completing 5 years or about to complete 5 years. If the elections are taking place after April, the outgoing government is obliged to present an interim budget and take what is called a vote on account for a period of 4 months. So that in the months of April, May, June and July, government will continue to spend, salaries will be paid, programs will be continued until a new government comes and presents a regular budget. This is a well-established practice.
Okay, Rohit.
How did you feel when Narendra Modi lampooned your Harvard education? Did you give him a lever when you actually responded in your budget speech and mentioned your educational context? And would you rather have not done that and even be accused of humility?
Well, I don't know what the last part implies. You see, a bit of give and take in politics is acceptable as long as it is in polite, civilized language without using coarse language. I don't respond to anyone who makes a coarse comment, anyone who makes a below-the-belt comment. But a bit of give and take, a bit of wit, a bit of humor, that's perfectly acceptable in civilized discourse. He played on the 2 words, hard work and Harvard. I played it back to him and I said, yes, all this is a result of hard work, but Harvard taught me hard work.
You also said that his understanding of economics is just about enough to fit at the back of a postage
That
stamp.
again
is that your understanding of how poor his economics is, and why do you feel that way?
Because you must look at what I said before that. He doesn't speak to the media. He doesn't take a press conference. He doesn't answer questions. He has not spelled out his views on fiscal deficit, on current account deficit, on monetary policy, on the GST, on the DTC, on the insurance bill, on the securities laws amendment bill. These are burning issues concerning the economy. He doesn't speak about any of them. And therefore I said, unless he speaks about these things, how do I respond?
But what does his Gujarat model of governance bode for if that model were to be brought to India and to Delhi, what would it mean? Would it be better than what the UPA has done or worse, and why?
It would not be better than what the UPA has done. And I'll tell you why. The UPA has delivered the highest growth rate in any period of 5 years since independence. That's a fact that you cannot rubbish or forget. The UPA has delivered the highest growth in a period of 5 years. And despite an international economic crisis, a fragile global economy, we are delivering in this second period of 5 years 6.6% growth, which is higher than the trend rate of 6.2% which India saw over the last 33 years. Besides, the 6.6% is higher than what the NDA delivered between 1999 and 2004. But Modi says today India
shouldn't be less than 10%.
Of course he says that, but without understanding the macroeconomic situation. Even China does not do 10% today. Every country is struggling to keep its head above the water. There are only half a dozen countries which are growing at over 5%. You think I'm happy that we are growing at 5%? No, I'm not happy. Having delivered 9% growth, how can I be happy with 5% growth? But the fact is, given the fragility of the global economy, given the type of problems that the world faces, given that world trade has slowed down, investments have slowed down, we are doing our best to keep growth ticking at about 5%. If someone else says, sure, I'll do 7%, I'll salute him if he does 7%. But if, as I see, we have done it in the past, we are trying to get back to the high growth path, and I'm absolutely confident 2014-15 will take us to 6%, and 2016-17 will take us to 7%.
But the government of the time will take the credit for whatever growth.
It's always so.
Natural.
Always
yes,
the government of the day will take the credit. And what's wrong with that? It's our country, it's our government, whichever party runs it.
Honorable Sir, it's again related to growth. Inflation, Reserve Bank policy could not contain it, knowing very well that the heavyweight food and fuel they cannot cure with their medicines. Instead, pro-growth policies would have created many opportunities. Isn't it that inflation is lesser evil and we can do with high inflation and higher growth and then tame the inflation? And one thing more, sir, should not we revisit the comfort level of inflation in the change scenario?
Okay.
Well, this is a debate that has been going on for ages, and this debate won't be concluded today. In the budget speech, I have said the policy of a government in a developing economy must be both price stability and growth. We must strike a balance between price stability and growth. I've said so quite clearly, explicitly. That's the policy of our government. The US, for example, the twin goals are price stability and employment. In a country like India, I believe the twin goals of a central bank, the RBI, should be price stability and growth, and they must strike a balance between price stability and growth.
What do you say, Minister, to all those who believe that the UPA period has been a period of jobless growth? In comparison with the past, the number of jobs being created under your watch is much lesser than earlier.
Well, that's not, again...
Those are statistics. There's data to show that.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. You see, the UPA period must be divided into two periods. The first period and the second period. There has been a slowdown in job creation in the second period, but jobs were created in the first period. But paradoxically, the rate of reduction in poverty has been faster in the second period, at 2.1%, because incomes have grown. Secondly, that job data that you have, I've seen the data too. You're looking at the numerator. You must also look at the number of people who entered the job market, thanks to near universal enrollment in schools. Mark my words, near universal enrollment in schools, and a sharp rise in the retention ratio. There are many people who are in school and in college and not entering the job market. So one has to look at the numbers as a proportion of those who enter the job market. If you look at it that way, the UPA second period is not too bad. But I want you to go back and look at the number of people who entered the job market in the last 5 years.
Okay, the gentleman there.
Sir, I'm Vinod Jain, a chartered accountant. You have done very well in announcing defense people, one cadre, one pension. Have you really calculated in your current account deficit the calculation of public sector employees, all government employees, public sector banks, everybody asking for one pay, one pension, one cadre, one pension? That is one question.
No, let's take one at a time. No?
Yeah.
Please, sir. It's a good question. It's one rank, one pension. There's a big difference. One rank, one pension. And let me tell you, you cannot compare defense services with the civilian services. We have many distinguished civil servants here, and an average civil servant serves between 33 and 35 years. But a Jawan does not serve more than 12 years. In fact, at every rank, people are retired. Why? We need a young fighting force. We must have young Jawans, young officers, and therefore the best way to do that is to allow them to retire at a young age. In fact, we require them to retire at a young age. Now, if somebody who serves 12 years retires, he can't be compared with somebody who serves 33 or 35 years. So the two are apples and oranges. Now, as far as the OROP for the defense services is concerned, this is a process. The UPA began to address the process for the first time in 2006 when we had a group of ministers under Mr. Mukherjee. We made one correction in 2006, a second correction in 2010, and a third correction based on the Cabinet Secretaries Committee in 2013. We have made 3 corrections. The gap is now small. Let's take the plunge. Let's walk the last mile and close the gap.
But sir, this is a very emotive issue.
It is. I said so in my speech. I said it is an emotive issue.
And they believe that this is being done as an election stunt, just short of the elections. Because Modi went to Rewari, spoke to all the servicemen, said we'll do it. Therefore, we've seen in the last few months, servicemen literally give back their medals of honor, sir.
Let me answer that. It's not correct to... I've given you facts. We made a first correction in 2006. We made the second correction in 2010. We made the third correction in 2013. And the gap has been entirely closed for the rank of Subedar, Havildar, Naib Subedar, Subedar and Subedar Major. There is a gap in the rank of Sepoy and Nayak and a gap in the rank of Major and above. So we have now decided to close the rank. It's a process. So you don't look upon it as an event. It's a process. The process was started by the UPA, and I'm proud that the process will be completed by the UPA.
Okay, I see there are lots of hands still up.
We'll have Nirbhaya's fund, even like you must have projected something of out of that fund. But even today, I cannot go out because my parents were not willing to send me to a place where Finance Minister of India was coming. So what welfare...
Is that a true story?
Yes, sir.
Your parents didn't want you to come here because they thought you would be unsafe?
Yes, sir.
Is that not a big failing of the government, sir, to make young women like her feel empowered to go out?
I agree. I agree that it is a failing of any government if women in that country feel unsafe to go out. I agree with you. It's a complex issue. I can't answer it in a short span of time. But my response as finance minister was, yes, I recognize this. I acknowledge it, and therefore I set up the Nirbhaya Fund last year.
How much money got spent of that?
The Nirbhaya Fund is not a potty to be dipped in to take money and spend money. That's not the idea. The Nirbhaya Fund is available for anyone who has a well-designed scheme or project to enhance security. It is not something that I dole out to everybody.
Yes, this young lady here.
Hello, sir. First of all, I would like to appreciate the way Finance Ministry and the RBI handled the economic crisis we saw last year. But, sir, despite these positive developments, global investors, they are still skeptical about Indian economy, or for that matter, Indian investors. So, they feel that if UPA government goes out of the power, only then investor confidence can be revived in the country. So UPA government could not project it as a reformist government, but a populist one.
Is that a vote of no confidence in the UPA?
Again, there's no data to make that statement. The fact is The fact is that investments still continue to come into India. Last year, I had an $88 billion current account deficit. What came into India in terms of investment, FII, FDI, external commercial borrowing, bank capital, remittances, what came into India was $91 billion. I'm talking about 2012-13. I came into the ministry only in August 2012. Nobody gave me half a chance of meeting the $88 billion deficit. We not only met the deficit fully, added $3 billion to reserves. Therefore, how do you say that investment is not coming into India? Please remember, the reservoir of investment has dried up in the capitalist countries. In the capital exporting countries like US, Europe, there are not too many people willing to invest because they are facing difficulties. It is not as though that reservoir is full, but it is not flowing into my field. That reservoir is depleted. If that reservoir is depleted, the flow into emerging economies will also be slower. Therefore, there has been slowdown of investment, but we have attracted enough investment to finance the current account deficit fully last year, and this year also, as I said in my speech, I will finance the current account deficit fully, and if I'm lucky, I will add $15 billion to my reserves this year.
So, but there are figures and there is sentiment. The sentiment even among Indian industry...
I thought she was talking about figures.
No, she spoke of figures. The sentiment...
Now you're running away from data to sentiment.
No, I'm asking you, this is an opinion voiced by several top Indian industrialists. They have lost their mojo when it comes to the India growth story. They feel it's better to go abroad and invest and create jobs, spend their money outside than to spend in India.
Well, I don't grudge that. I think Indian industry must also become multinational. I think an industrialist is right when he says part of my investments must be abroad.
But that part is increasing.
That's not correct. That's again not based on data. You have to look at data and say how much is it. There must be a significant portion of his investment abroad, and there must be a significant portion of his investment in India. That's good business practice, and I would strongly support Indian companies going abroad, acquiring companies, acquiring assets, acquiring oil fields, acquiring coal mines, acquiring metal mines. I would strongly support that.
I'm M.K. Venu. You just rightly said that in recent months, government has unblocked 296 projects with an aggregate investment of 3 lakh crore.
6,60,000 crore.
Yeah, 6. Now, my question is, if this had been done, say, in 2010 or 2011, which was, by now you would have got at least a 1% GDP growth increase upcycle, and you would have gone into an election with a 6.5% growth. Do you agree with that?
I agree.
Then what is the reason why it didn't happen?
You asked me if I agreed, I agreed. I agree.
No, but there is a sense through what part of what you say, when you say 2 years ago things were like this, I came in and I tried to improve things.
I said
let me ask my question.
The objective situation that one finds himself. There was an objective situation in 2008-9. There was another objective situation in 2011-12. So whoever is in the seat of the Prime Minister or Finance Minister has to deal with the objective situation as he finds it at that time. See, the one thing that none of us have is the luxury of hindsight. I wish we had hindsight.
What would you have changed if you had the benefit of hindsight?
Oh, we had hindsight. Certainly, I think all of us would have agreed that the first stimulus package was perhaps absolutely necessary. The second and third stimulus packages were perhaps not necessary. But that is a conclusion you can draw only on the basis of hindsight.
Okay. That gentleman. Sir.
Sir, a little follow-up on the question relating to investor sentiment. Again, it's probably a perception, but there is a perception that the heightened sort of governance deficit, which is manifested in increased risk for the investors in terms of public policy risk, political risk, regulatory risk, tax policy risk, and even now some judicial risk. And that is perhaps affecting the investor sentiment. And on top of that, bureaucracy also is becoming more and more risk averse. That's what one hears talking to bureaucrats and all. And they say that of course the future is uncertain, but now even the past has become uncertain. So what do you think needs to be done to restore the decision-making capacity in the system, because it has become so risk-averse?
I agree. I think the balance has been disturbed. You rightly mentioned regulatory risk. I've said this before. There is a bit of regulatory overreach today. You mentioned judicial risk. That's right. I know of no other country where the judiciary intervenes so extensively in economic decision making. There is also a political risk, but that's common to all countries which go into an election year. Political risk will rise. So, in a sense, you are absolutely right. The balance has been disturbed. We should restore the balance.
How?
Yeah, we should restore the balance by the judiciary performing the role that is envisaged in the Constitution, namely only the power of judicial review, where something is clearly illegal or unconstitutional. The judiciary cannot step in and say, this economic policy, which I think is the right policy, should replace that policy. That's a function of Parliament. If Parliament fails, that is a function of the people. Regulatory risk has increased in this country. Regulators must again remain within the parameters of the statute or the law which creates them. So risks have risen in this country, which is perhaps why sentiment is affected.
But they blame the government for being weak.
Correct.
They say the Manmohan Singh government was not strong enough. If there was a decisive leader, this would have never happened.
Well, this is the kind of myth building that takes place. You see, people look upon government with a capital G. People don't make a distinction between regulator, executive government, parliament, bureaucracy. It's government with a capital G. And therefore, the face of the government with a capital G is the Prime Minister. So everything will be laid at the door of the Prime Minister. Let me ask you, rhetorically, if Parliament doesn't function, is the Prime Minister responsible? If a regulator overreaches, is the Prime Minister responsible? I think these are simplistic. We like to think there are simple or simplistic answers to these problems. These are complex issues which we must sit down and ask ourselves and find solutions. How overreach can be limited or reduced, how institutions must function within the lines drawn for them, so that there is a balance restored in the manner in which a country is governed.
Okay, that gentleman there.
Sir, Telangana bill has been passed with so much of uproar in the parliament. But some of your MP colleagues had misbehaved in that parliament and they harmed the parliamentary dignity. So what are your views about that?
Is this the right way to push the bill through a state born in a blackout?
I'll answer that. So let me answer him first. I'm certainly ashamed of the way Parliament is functioning and the way the bill was passed. You can even say the way the bill was pushed through was not quite democratic. You might even say undemocratic. But look at the opposite of that. 12 members of Parliament can paralyze a 542-member Parliament for days and weeks on end is the most undemocratic act. Between the two, which is the most undemocratic act? The most undemocratic act is 12 members paralyzing Parliament. Pushing through a bill which has clearly a majority support in the House is not democratic, but not as undemocratic as the other one. Parliament must function. There's no other way. Parliament's business is to make laws. So, therefore, the bill was pushed through because we cannot allow this problem to fester for another 4 months, running into a Lok Sabha and State Assembly elections. The problem would have become worse.
Is it done with the cold calculation of improving your prospects in Telangana?
Well, I'm glad you think that we are so intelligent that we coldly calculate everything. We don't. This decision was announced in 2009. If at all, we have been extremely patient, extremely indulgent, the widest possible consultation, the most impressive commission to listen to everybody for days and months, a very well-argued report, and then further consultations, at the end of which we find that the two sides take irreconcilable positions. Please remember, Andhra Pradesh was not born as Andhra Pradesh. It was born without the 10 districts of Telangana. It was only 2.5 years down the line, the 10 districts of Telangana were forcibly united into Andhra. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, this is a forced marriage, let us see how it works. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked. Not because we did anything, they are unable to live and work together. The High Court is divided, the bureaucracy is divided. In the staff room, the civil servants of one part of Andhra will not sit and have lunch with the civil servants of another part of Andhra. So the situation has come to a point where there is no chance at all of the two sides staying together in one state.
Okay.
Therefore, ultimately we have to decide, let's create two states. There will be two Telugu-speaking states, like there are many Hindi-speaking states.
Mr. Chidambaram, you said that Narendra Modi's understanding of economics can fit at the back of a postage stamp. What is your assessment of the intellectual caliber of Rahul Gandhi? Do you believe the young man is worthy of being India's Prime Minister, sir?
I think he's, from what interaction I've had with him, I think he's well-meaning, well-read, and is willing to learn, willing to listen and willing to learn. He's not dogmatic. He does not believe that he has all the answers to India's problems, or he alone has all the answers. And I think he has a genuine compassion for the women, for the homeless, for the poor, the genuine compassion. Now, my party believes, and I believe, at least I believe, that the leadership must pass on to a younger generation. I've said this before, and I no hesitation in saying it now. We must hand over responsibility to a younger generation. I know there are a lot of young men and women in this country who are extremely capable. I know very capable lawyers, very capable doctors, very capable chartered accountants, very capable business persons who are running businesses. I think we can find enough young men and women in this country to run the government.
Out of all those...
And I believe that within our party, there are many capable young men and women.
So if there are capable lawyers, capable chartered
Rahul Gandhi is quite capable, along with other capable young men and women, to run a government.
But in a country that is increasingly obsessed with meritocracy, why should somebody born into privilege with a title called Gandhi have the natural right to be India's next Prime Minister? Why should a successful Home Minister, a successful Finance Minister not have the same right? Have you not, Mr. Chidambaram, demonstrated far more caliber and administrative worth to be a Prime Minister than Rahul Gandhi?
Well, I'm glad of one supporter here in you.
No, but this is a very serious question. It's on the idea of meritocracy.
I have certain goals and ideals in life. And life is finite. I wish there was a second innings like in cricket matches. There is no second innings. There's only one innings. So in one innings, you play a certain number of overs, and I know how many overs I've got. Now, what do I want to do in the remaining years of my life? I know what I want to do.
Which is?
I've said this before. I want to travel. I want to read. I want to write. And if any one of these young men will tolerate me, I want to teach.
No, but you're going away, sir, from the debate of meritocracy.
Wait a minute.
If not you, because, yes.
Wait a minute. So I know what I want to do. Therefore, I have no aspiration. I have no ambition. The point is there are many, many capable young men and women. I sincerely hope that there are capable young men and women who, by their attitude, aptitude, inclination, will find it possible to join a political party which isn't fit with them and come into politics. When I came into politics, when I joined the Youth Congress, I was only 25 years old. And I did not think that I was doing a wrong thing. I was practicing as a lawyer.
No, but even if these young people enter politics, Rahul Gandhi will still be their Prime Minister.
I'm answering that. You forget that the last Gandhi or last member of the Gandhi family who was Prime Minister was Prime Minister in the year 1984 to 1989. We have not had a Prime Minister from the Gandhi family in the last 25 years. Since then, we have had, I think, 6 or 7 Prime Ministers not in the Gandhi family. So nobody is claiming anything as a matter of right. There is a political party. That political party has appointed him Vice President. That political party believes that he has, along with others, along with his colleagues, along with his peers, the capability to run a government. We are putting that forward. It's for the people to decide whether to accept our platform, our program, and our leadership.
But does it concern the people of India that, would you not think that it would concern the people of India that he's not shown that he can be a successful Home Minister, successful finance? How do we know that he'll make a good Prime Minister, sir? Since you've worked with him much closely than all of us.
I think these questions are becoming acutely personal. How do I know that Mr. X will make a good Prime Minister? Just because Mr. X was a good Chief Minister, why should I believe he'll make a good Prime Minister?
Which X are you talking about here?
Well, I'm talking about.
Because every Chief Minister wants to be Prime Minister.
That's right. That's precisely what my answer was. Every Chief Minister in India today wants to be Prime Minister. But I think these are good debating points. These are good to score points. The point is, each party presents a platform, a program, and a leadership. It's for you to choose. It's for the people to choose. See, my proudest feeling about being in India is, you and I have the right to choose. Most countries don't have it.
And we have the right to be heard, which is why Mr. Chidambaram is here, and we really appreciate that. Josie will ask the last question.
Mr. Minister Chidambaram, a slightly boring question from economics. This is on your budget. In the last budget and the budget before this, you have cut back on planned spending of around 1.7 percentage points of GDP, obviously debilitating effects to the economy. How long do you think will it be before we can kind of overcome that crimp on spending?
Well, I don't agree with your description of a cut. You must go by the rules of the expenditure. The rules of expenditure is, we have a former secretary here, if you do not spend 66% by December, you can only spend no more than 33% in the last quarter. So if a ministry or department or under a program, they have spent only 60% by the 31st of December, they straight away lose 6% of the budget. I call it savings. You call it a cut. The effect, the real position is that is unspent money under the rules. I didn't make the rules. The rules have been there for the last many, many years. Those are the rules of expenditure, so that people don't waste money in the last couple of weeks or last 3 weeks or last 1 month. For I don't think this 5% reduction from total expenditure will have a debilitating effect on demand. I don't think so.
Mr. Chidambaram, for participating in the Right to be Heard town hall, for taking all these bouncers, beamers head on, thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been an extremely polite, extremely courteous, extremely friendly audience. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best in your lives.
Thank you all so much for participating.